CM Punk, the most controversial wrestling icon. But why did Dana White regret signing him? In the world of combat sports, CM Punk is a unique case study to explore. Once the hottest WWE wrestler and a fan favorite, but then comes his miserable UFC run. Even Joe Rogan called Punk untalented.
A very nice guy and he's a hard worker, but he does not have athletic talent. He's missing a lot, and he's a showman.
Fight fans, let's dive deep into the curious case of Mr. CM Punk. From being the hottest WWE superstar to being called the worst MMA fighter of all time. But before that, for more such awesome content in the combat sports world, subscribe and hit the bell icon and never miss any bit of Sportskeeda MMA. Let's go down to Chicago where it all started. A teenage Phillip Brooks, aka CM Punk, following his boyhood idol Rowdy Roddy Piper, wanted to break into the wrestling industry. As a wrestler, he had long been in the industry, traveling throughout the country and working every significant independent promotion before making big time in WWE. Punk rose to the top of the WWE despite several roadblocks. Despite his obvious talent, officials in the WWE questioned the decision to sign him. But he proved all his doubters wrong, becoming an alternative inside the industry. He was neither a pure babyface nor a clearly defined heel. He found a gray area flirting with something in between and stood atop the pro wrestling mountain. The Summer of Punk, up to this day, remains one of the best and most popular storylines ever produced in the pro wrestling industry. So much so that even WWE recreated it with Punk himself.
I'm the best. I'm the best in the world. There's one thing you're better at than I am, and that's kissing Vince McMahon's ass.
Pipe bomb. Well, do we need to go there? He was once the undesirable, became undeniable, to finally the undisputed main eventer. Whether it was his straight edge persona or his best in the world gimmick, everything resonated with the audience. He made a connection with the audience that would help him become one of the most popular and critically acclaimed stars in the industry. It all felt good on screen, however, off screen was all but good. Punk had numerous issues with the WWE, including alleged medical negligence and creative differences. It came to a tipping point around Royal Rumble in 2014.
Like, not even after the pipe bomb and Money in the Bank with Cena in Chicago, was there ever a moment where you felt like, all right, I got him on my side now?
No, I don't think so. Because it was always a fight. There was always a conversation. And I think that's the juice for Vince, you know what I mean?
Then came a day when he had just had enough of it. Reportedly before the January 27, 2014 episode of Raw, he told Vince McMahon personally that he was going home. Although foes like MJF may argue that he just quit and took his home like a little. To make matters worse, the WWE sent him his release letter on his wedding day. Talk about a kick in the gut. CM Punk's sudden disappearance from WWE TV triggered intense speculation among the wider wrestling audience. However, fans had to wait almost a year to hear Punk. In November 2014, Punk explained his acrimonious exit from WWE on the now infamous Art of Wrestling podcast with his friend turned foe, Colt Cabana. Well, they say, when one door closes, the other pops right in front. Speaking of doors, fight fans, we have doors open to all combat enthusiasts. So what are you waiting for? Smash it on your way inside the realm of Sportskeeda MMA. Punk closed the door on WWE. Now he had his eyes set on something that he was a long-time admirer of. Punk was an MMA enthusiast, especially BJJ. Enzo Fertitta, then CEO of the UFC, saw him grappling with Rener Gracie. As soon as he saw that, he had dollar signs in his eyes. Dana White saw his newest pay-per-view attraction and signed him up in December 2014. With Conor 1 foot out the door to the bright lights of boxing, he was the new cash cow. Well, that's at least what the UFC brass thought he would be.
You know this man, but your wrestling days are over. You have decided to enter the octagon and fight mixed martial arts professional.
But wait, he wasn't the first professional wrestler to enter the MMA cage. Long before him, there were a handful of WWE superstars who dared enter the octagon. Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley were the ones who had a respectable career inside the cage, while others failed miserably.
To me, he's making a mistake. He doesn't know what he's getting himself into. He's talking about, I want to test myself.
Many MMA industry experts warn him of the consequences of entering the octagon, while many inside the pro wrestling world took the news as a gimmick, merely a publicity stunt by the UFC. This decision raised eyebrows and sparked intense curiosity among fans and critics alike, given that CM Punk spent the majority of his career in the realm of professional wrestling, and on top of that, he had no amateur MMA experience.
Look, dude, CM Punk is it's horrible for the sport.
Despite the mixed reactions, Punk was adamant that he was here to stay. CM Punk trained with Henner Gracie and at Rufus Sport. He trained with the best alongside Anthony Pettis, Tyron Woodley, Ben Askren, and more for 2 years. Henner even declared CM Punk's MMA potential has no limit. That's quite a statement, and that too by a Gracie, renowned for bringing BJJ stateside. Then came his debut in September 2016. The stage was set in Cleveland for UFC 203. The fans at the Quicken Loans Arena knew exactly what was coming. CM Punk chants erupted even before his beloved Cult of Personality entrance theme started playing. This was a spectacle in itself. Once the octagon door slammed shut, Punk met the harsh reality of the sport. His debut ended in the first round when Mickey Gall submitted him via rear naked choke. Before he could even land a punch, the fight was done and dusted. He entered the UFC, but he was unaware of the surroundings. He had been inside the ring before, but this time it felt too much. It was a stark reminder that inside the octagon, he needed a lot of work before he could return to the cage. Even though Punk lost, he was a star attraction for the UFC. He more than doubled UFC 203's pay-per-view revenue, drawing power among the MMA elite. He lost decisively, but was quite bullish in his post-fight speech. He was never too shy to show his emotion and got teary-eyed before the media.
Yeah, you know, in life, you go big, you go home. I just like to take challenges. This was a hell of a mountain to try to climb, and I didn't get to the summit today, but it doesn't mean I'm going to give up. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop.
Gone from the UFC for another 2 years, he went back to train with his peers and waited for another shot. In the summer of 2018, the UFC came knocking on his door. He took a fight against Mike Jackson in his hometown of Chicago in June 2018. Maybe this would provide that much needed boost that he required. Surely the Second City Saint would get his hand raised inside the very building where he sold out numerous WWE events. They say lightning never strikes twice, but this time it did. He lost a unanimous decision against Mike Jackson at UFC 225. The only positive out of this fight was that he didn't get finished and even landed some punches of his own. This was against a fighter who was publicly ridiculed and fired live on the post-fight press conference by Dana White. Well, that was the last straw. Even White couldn't hide it anymore.
I love the guy. He's the nicest guy in the world. We gave him 2 shots, you know, and he had a lot of heart tonight in this fight, and yeah, I think you should call it a wrap.
This experiment by the UFC was a disaster for Punk and his reputation. No doubt a massive pay-per-view draw for the UFC. He did bring in the numbers to justify his huge fight purse, but it gave his adversaries more content to look down on him with. The jump from a scripted entertainment show to a full combat sport was too much to handle for Punk. It was unpredictable and brutal. Nearly 4 years into his MMA career, the obsession, the overexcited zeal that launched his pathway into MMA seems to have given way to an uncomfortable state of embarrassment.
I'll tell you what, fair play to him, because he got in there and fought, and not a lot of people do. Not a lot of people have to make that walk. So
but wait, the story isn't dead. In comes All Elite Wrestling. Summer of 2021, the rumor mill was swirling with innuendo. And after weeks of rumors, on August 20th, CM Punk was back on mainstream television, this time for AEW. He instantly became a key player in the promotion. His tenure was monumental in AEW's success, but was mired by controversies. He was the center stage of not one but 2 different backstage brawls, one after All Out 2022 and another at AEW All In 2023. He was fired for cause by AEW president Tony Khan. When Punk's stint with AEW came to a sudden end, he made a spectacular comeback to WWE at Survivor Series in 2023, marking a new chapter in his esteemed career. CM Punk's return to WWE came out of nowhere. Nobody expected it. Punk, who walked out to Cult of Personality, received a massive pop from the jam-packed Chicago crowd. It became his in-ring debut. Isn't it ironic that his final WWE appearance was at the 2014 Royal Rumble, and boy oh boy, life came full circle when his second innings inside the WWE ring came together in Royal Rumble 2024. With the Paul Levesque era underway, the WWE machine is firing on all cylinders. Now all of the CM Punk fans wonder what's next for the straight-edge superstar. Punk's undeniable charisma coupled with his gift of the gab built him a cult following. Fans follow him wherever he goes. Nobody can argue that. This came even before his WWE departure, which followed him to the UFC, then AEW, and back, where it all started. He was a massive hit in every organization he worked for. He delivered amazing spectacles for fans around the world in the WWE and AEW. But when it came to MMA, he tanked. In the UFC, he leaves behind a legacy that will be rivaled by very few. Despite the doubt over his skills and the naysayers, he took a bet on himself and went on a ride in the UFC octagon. He was never a particularly gifted natural athlete. CM Punk's journey in a combat sport is a rollercoaster ride full of rebellion, self-confidence, cockiness, and passion. But it was hard to go overboard when there were clear signs that the talent was elusive. It was the sheer naivety and unabashed arrogance that lured him into MMA. He does deserve full respect for even getting in there to fight in the face of long odds and even longer learning curve. So, is he the best pro wrestler ever? We'll have to wait a little more before we speak about that, but he damn sure will be one of the most talked about stars in the history of pro wrestling. Is he the worst MMA fighter? The most untalented MMA fighter ever? Maybe, maybe not, but CM Punk's name will always come to the forefront whenever the conversation comes along for the worst fighters in the UFC, let alone MMA. Alright Punk fans, even Joe Rogan echoes this sentiment.
He doesn't have any talent. That's all it is. He just doesn't have physical talent, or whatever, for whatever reason. Whether it's his approach, his intensity.
And what do you think? Is Punk the worst MMA fighter? Let us know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned to Sportskeeda for all the updates in the world of combat sports.